So, we hit the 6'7" goal, and now we've hit the 6'9" goal, 69. And to celebrate this situation here, this achievement, I wanted to discuss how that number makes me feel. I wanted to explore my thoughts on that number a bit. So when you break it down, 69, it's like the yin and yang, right? It represents the fact that for every force in this world, there's an equal opposite force. And that just reminds me of the time when I was hiking in British Columbia in the mountains. I was on a hiking trail, and when I'm hiking, I like power hike, right? So I'm just like stomping through the forest, up the trail. I'm unstoppable, all right? Because of my body weight, the size of me, I'm like an unstoppable force, right? But then up ahead the trail, I look up and I'm like walking alongside a mountain, right? This trail goes up a mountain. I see the mountain start to break off, and at the top, there's a giant boulder now rolling my way. So in that situation, I do what I do in every situation, and I just keep pushing, right? Because like I said, once I start, there's no stopping. Okay, this train is going through town, one-way express. So the boulder's coming my way, I'm coming the boulder's way, and right as it's about to hit me, I just like Chris Redfield fucking hook it, and it shatters into a billion pieces. I counted every single one. It's like I'm like Rain Man, right? The boulder exploded into the air, and as the pieces were falling, I counted every single one, and it came out to exactly 1,300,400,669. And that brings us right back to the number of discussion in today's video. And this is exactly what I mean, okay? For every force, there's an equal opposite force. Again, it's like Godzilla versus Cthulhu, alright? Two giants of the deep, one cosmic and one of this world. Head to head, one-on-one, who's winning? Because you have to think, right? Cthulhu probably has a size advantage, I'd imagine, being that he's a cosmic being. However, Gojira has the power advantage. So, it's the difference between force and defense. Is Godzilla's force enough to take down Cthulhu's defense? I'm not sure. But what I am sure of is the fact that hobo's force, pelvic force, was far too strong for my anal defense. And that's why he got the better of me in that alleyway on that dark, rainy night in Vancouver. He was a fentanyl boy. I said see a lentinol boy. He wasn't good enough for me. And, I think that says a lot about the objectification of the human form these days. Because not once in that interaction did I stop and admire, the Vancouver fentanyl hobo's pure strength and power. He was a stallion, but because of the male gaze, it wasn't good enough. It's never good enough. It's never enough. The world is not enough. Not even for 007 James Bond. That hobo truly did. He shook and stirred my insides that night. But that's beside the point. The point being that when you're on the streets of Vancouver, you have to arm yourself. Because in Vancouver, it's dog eat dog, right? So what I'd recommend for tourists, or perhaps even locals who haven't necessarily gotten a lay of the land yet, I'd recommend a 12-inch blade minimum. Because you gotta think, like, the people prowling the streets of Vancouver, they're a different breed, okay? They're on just a concoction of substances here. So, a 12-inch blade is recommended because that'll cut through, the layer of fentanyl protection and methamphetamine protection and heroin protection. It'll just cut right to the core, and that's what you need on the streets of Vancouver. I would also recommend you acquire a pair of sunglasses. Perhaps a nice set of aviators might do well, but you have to make sure that they're, black lenses or very dark at least, because it is critical on the streets of Vancouver that your attacker does not see fear in your eyes. This way you can most effectively establish dominance and maybe not even have to use your 12-inch blade. that I mentioned before, though that's highly unlikely. You probably will. So I think if you're going to Vancouver, you're just gonna have to get comfortable with that, with hacking and slicing and chopping and dicing and plunging your blade deep into the heart of the Vancouver homeless, because it's you or them. It's you or them. And coincidentally, that is the exact ultimatum I was posed with only a mere 2 weeks ago. You see, I was sailing on the Atlantic Ocean, traveling to a far, far away land, when all of a sudden, an unidentifiable ship came up behind. Just creeped on up in the middle of the night as me and my crew were heading off to bed. They came up, they sounded their horn to alert us. It wasn't like an electronic horn, like a car horn or something. It was like a fog horn, like a... They sounded the horn to alert us of their presence, and the captain of the ship came aboard. At first, I was intimidated because a stranger had just boarded my ship, but he made his intentions clear when he said, "Hey, I'd like to interest you in some of my wares here." And at first, I was like, "Please get off my ship. What are you doing? You can't just come here and try to sell me your wares." I was confused. I was frustrated. I was annoyed. But once I saw what this man had for sale, I took back my word immediately, instantly. The breath was taken from my body. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, shot up even. The item that had shaken me, frankly. This item was my grandmother's head in a box. I had no words at first. We stood there in silence as the captain / merchant stared at me, and I stared right back, gazing into each other's souls for what felt like an eternity. I asked him eventually, "What are you doing? How did you get that? What did you do to my grandmother?" The man said nothing, still smiling. I asked again, "What did you do?" He finally replied, "You're none. Hey." That's all he said. Once again, I was at a loss for words. I then told the man, "Name your price." He said, "I want 5,000 rupees, sir." I was confused, as I was sure the man I was speaking to just moments ago was of some sort of English, Scottish descent, but he seems now to be speaking in some sort of Asian accent, almost Indian or perhaps Pakistani. He said again, 5,000 rupees, sir, and I said fine. So I paid the man his 5,000 rupees, which I luckily had on hand as I was just recently in India on a business trip. What business, you ask? Well, let's just say I had some unfinished orders that I had to take care of. But anyway, that's not important to this story. No, this story is about me and this strange Scottish Hindu man. And as I acquired my grandmother's head in a box for 5,000 rupees, as the man asked, he just up and vanished in a great puff of smoke. A cloud. He was like Batman. He had a smoke bomb in his pocket. He whipped it out, smashed it on the ground, and he was gone. And as he disappeared, his ship sank to the bottom of the ocean for no apparent reason. The ship was in perfect looking condition, but it just sank because that's what happened. Still sailing around the Atlantic with my crew, who didn't do shit in that whole interaction because I guess they didn't wake up to the foghorn. Still sailing around the Atlantic, but now with my newly acquired item, I headed off to bed and I tried to sleep, though I'm not sure that I did. The next morning, I approached the cabin to find my grandmother's head in a box where I left it. I opened the box and examined the head as I was still in shock that I had this in my possession. And the crew and I decided that we were going to give my grandmother's head a burial at sea, like a true Scotsman. So we placed the box in the water, and it was buoyant enough that it floated, and we set fire to it. However, just as the flames engulfed the box flung open, and my grandmother's head came flying out, now floating in the sky with eyes of fire and tentacles coming out of where her neck had been severed, mouth agape, with razor-sharp teeth, hair standing on all ends, worms coming out of her ears, earthworms, even. My first mate screamed for somebody to get the gun out of the safe, but it was too late. My grandmother, like, Homelander fucking lasered everybody's head off except mine. And then she said, "What up, son?" I was confused. How could this be happening right now? To me. I said, "What the fuck?" And then her head just kind of exploded and, like, melted. And she was like, "Oh, what a world." And that was the end of that situation. So it kind of sucked that my whole crew died, but I mean, it could have ended up worse. Like, at least I made it, so. I landed back in Canada on Prince Edward Island, and as I had docked at the port, my boat just sank. So that's why if you ever, like, meet me in real life, like, my whole crew died, my grandmother's head just, like, evaporated, the box was set on fire, and the boat sank. So that's why, like, you'll never find any of those things if you meet me in real life. But this did happen, believe me. I mean, the experience overall, I think, like, it wasn't a bad experience. I don't think, like, it was fine, I guess. It could have been better, but, you know, you'll take what you can. And I took what I could when I first encountered the aliens. See, I was there in Roswell, New Mexico, when the UFO crash landed. I don't know if I should say this, but I'm actually, like, ex-military, and listen, I'm not gonna say what I saw there, but I'm gonna say what I saw there. You saw alien with bulbous heads and bulbous noses, standing on multiple legs, sucklers on their palms and soles, blue tinted skin, wearing nothing but brown casual polos, vertical red eyes. It's terrible. They played this horrible melody on their foreign musical device. I shouldn't be saying this. But look, to bring it back to the point of this video, 69, it means a lot to me and to me. And I just think that it's such a wonderful thing that it's wonderful, and it's a thing. And that is a wonderful thing in and of itself, my friends. So, if you can't tell by the words that I'm saying now, I've grown tired of recording this, and I've run out of things to say. So now I'm just saying words. But I think I'll end it right now, here. But yeah, that's it. See you.